Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived for round 13, assuming I titled it right, I should have, of the ARC Indycar Championship. And we are hopping across the pond this week, the Brands Hatch GP circuit. We'll play host to this round of competition. I want to say this is our first race overseas in the championship. I think it's been all North America up to this point. As qualifying has just begun, we are coughing. We are looking at Andrew Davis, as he was the first driver to leave his pit stall pretty much immediately. Decent sized field, 13 today. Couple of things to note going into qualifying. Following incidents coming off of the Indy Texas Oval doubleheader, there are quite a few penalties circulating. Well, a driver that's not here has a qualifying ban. And AJ Knickel has received a penalty as well. A qualifying penalty. So that's going to be a big hit to him here. Especially considering Brands Hatch, it's not necessarily easy to make overtakes stick here either. So having a good qualifying position is going to be crucial here. And obviously having a qualifying penalty will not allow you to do that. Andrew Davis heads out of the final turn. He'll set the first full pace lap of the session. And that is going to be a 1:11.25. But just based on what I've noticed from my own testing, that's probably not going to stand for too long. And I can tell that probably wasn't even his maximum pace because he made a few mistakes in a couple of corners. Yeah, Fidel Fabian with a 1:09.4. I had to scoot up in my chair to see that. A 1:09.4. That's the first, representative lap. What is going on here? Now, let's see what Jonathan Jurgensmeyer runs here. He heads out of the last turn. And across the start-finish, he will produce a 1:07.5. So already a big pace deficit there, but he runs off into the sand there. I don't really think that's going to help his lap time much. And just as quickly, Matthew Stott snaps back with a 1:06.7. And then here comes Dylan Bam with a 1:05.87. So yeah, the fast laps have already been poured on, and we're not even halfway through this qualifying session just yet. Dylan Bam is using the whole racetrack, and even though probably a bit of grip that this car doesn't have, a check it can't cash. He's up 2 more tenths on his previous lap, which is already fast enough. Matthew Daly with a 1:09.3, so there's very obviously a bit of a skill deficit. The 1:08s are being completely skipped over at the moment as Fidel Fabian on an outlap gets out of Bam's way. 130 through the third to last corner. And through the last corner, that is crazy. The kind of speed that he is demonstrating. A 1:05.5 to his credit with that one. And just from what I saw, that one might be tough to beat. Watching Fidel Fabian as he makes his second attempt at a lap here. Heading towards Sector 2 now. Let's see if he's gained. He's definitely gained some time. Almost 6/10 in hand as he heads down the back straightaway. Still 5/10 in hand. I also noticed I didn't comment on it because I usually say that towards the end of the session. Both Matthew Daly as Fidel Fabian is around in the final corner. Those 5/10 are not going to do much, as he needs to return to the pits quickly or he's going to get disqualified for blocking the lane too. And Jake Scarborough imitates his teammate, and that is a destroyed race car right there. Good thing that doesn't matter, because you can return to the pit lane and it immediately fixes your car. But, well, that would obviously be a pretty critical error if we were in the race session. Juergensmeyer gets out of Jamie Wright's way. But yeah, as I was saying before, Fidel Fabian committed traction leaving the chat. Andrew Davis and Matthew Daly have picked up grid penalties for pit lane speeding. I don't really know how you do that. There's a pit limiter button. So it'll be important for them to still get a really good lap, because it's only one position reduced. That was, I think, an outlap for Matthew Daly. He's going to have some traffic in his way. Almost was disallowed to hit the apex as his own teammate was exiting the pit lane there of Matthew Stotts. I think they're teammates. No, this is a Ganassi car. They're not teammates. I'm just dumb. Matthew Stotts still trying to find something here in the closing stages of this session. Dylan Bam is not even on the racetrack right now. I almost wonder if he doesn't even think he needs to try another lap, because that 105.5 was absolutely rapid, and I feel like you'd need a miracle, or maybe a Formula 1 car, to get anywhere near that lap time. Jake Scarborough and Luis Ramirez have also gotten grid penalties for pit lane violations. I'm beginning to wonder if maybe that's not actually a white line violation rather than speeding. The white line on pit exit can be a little awkward here, and it's very easy to accidentally cross over it. As I've certainly done at least once or twice in my ARC racing career. Let's go on board Matthew Stotts as he attempts to at least maybe get respectfully close. Respectfully. Oh my lord. Respectably close. I don't think he's gonna do it doing that though, so. Apparently not respecting the English language, or certainly not speaking it very well. In spite of the track's really close quarters nature and being one of the shortest tracks on the calendar that isn't an oval, to see qualifying be this spread out with 6 seconds between all of the competitive times here, kind of blowing me away a little bit. I mean, even I would have kind of snuck somewhere in the lower half of this grid because I was running 110s in my practice session, and that was with no setup, so. Of course, it doesn't matter what I did, because I'm the commentator. But Jonathan Juergensmeyer heads up to the start-finish. He will gain about 1/10.5. He would have had to gain a lot more than that to really matter, though. Matthew Stotts has once again missed turn 4. And his session is over. Jake Scarborough jumps higher on the board with a 108.1, and he's still ongoing. And he also has his own grid penalty. He has missed turn 2 though, and I don't really think that that's a valid way to take that corner. You can cut in late on exit. That's a strategy, but just completely not making an apex at all is probably not fast. I mean, I guess I can't knock it too much. He is up almost 2/10 heading towards the second sector. The session timer has expired, so these will be the last few laps here. And Jake Scarborough is around again, that same corner that caught him out the last time we were watching him. Luis Ramirez has experienced the same mishap. Jamie Wright, who's currently in the wrong car, I do believe. Not sure what's going on there. He's supposed to be in the 3, unless he's been signed to a new team and I wasn't paying attention. He does not improve, so we will not be seeing much of any improvements in the last few minutes of this lap of this session. Fidel Fabian crosses the line to finish his lap and the session. I don't know if his lap was an improvement. It doesn't look like it was. I do not see any indication that Jamie Wright was signed to a new team. So either I missed something very critical or I'm just a fool. But a quick grid rundown here after the myriad of qualifying or grid penalties, as well as the one qualifying penalty served by AJ Knickel. Dylan Bam with a dominant pole over Matthew Stotts, Jonathan Jurgensmeyer, Gabe Cazzola. I didn't even notice he was that high on the starting grid. Jake Scarborough, who took a one-place grid hit, Matthew Daly, who did the same, Fidel Fabian, Jamie Wright, Jackson Tate, Andrew Davis, Luis Ramirez with his own grid penalty. I thought for a second that was an oval car, I'm not gonna lie. Actually, is it an oval car? Oh yeah, that absolutely is. Because yeah, that's an oval Chevy, and this is an oval Honda. So, Deshaun Davidson, my fault, is in the wrong car, and AJ Knickel starts last off his qualifying ban. I'm currently hearing through one of my ears, and by that I mean the chat, that Jamie was indeed fired from Champ Racing and apparently picked up by Conga Line. Apparently the second driver to be fired from that 3 car this season, so clearly Champ Racing is seeking a little too much perfection. But there are the good old red lights. They turn green, and we are away from Brands Hatch. Watch for Matthew Stotts to get a much better start, though. Automatic gears go crazy, and he will take the lead into turn 1. Gabe Cazzola will follow him ahead of the pole sitter. We have a spin. Fidel Fabian just went for a spin cycle on the exit of turn 1. But we remain at racing speed as that was an isolated incident. And indeed, multiple Ganassi cars taking the top 2 positions away off the start here. Dylan Bam with not quite the launch from the grid he was looking for. But something tells me he's got the pace to make up for it in a couple of laps from now. 28 of said laps in play here. So, no lack of time as, yeah, Davidson probably on a mechanical thing. You know, pretend he failed tech, he has retired the car. Because that's not really a car worth driving. AJ Knickel already made up 4 places on just this opening lap here. There is one thing about a qualifying penalty, and is that nobody knows what pace his car actually has. He ran 0 qualifying laps, so we don't know what that 6 car is actually capable of. Dylan Bam is hot on the heels of Gabe Cazzola as we attempt lap 2 here. Jurgensmeyer and Scarborough, 2 JSR teammates, not too far behind the pair of them if battling commences, and I think that it will. Although the way that Jurgensmeyer is running right now, he might get to Dylan before Dylan gets to Gabe. And neither car seems to have much for the pace of Matthew Stotts at the moment. Jackson Tate is left early. Not sure if I missed something there, or if he just had somewhere else to be, or what the heck. Dylan has now got his brain and car in gear, and he is right on that rear light of Cazzola. A good run out of turn 1, or the final turn, or turn 1. Or Jake Scarborough's off at the final turn. He smacks the outside wall, and he has to wait to rejoin appropriately. I don't know what damage he may have sustained from that collision. It's still nothing produced for the 2-car yet. Obviously, he's got time. He's got all the time in the world. Though he doesn't want to lose too much time to Stotts ahead. So, he does, you know, time is an illusion. He has plenty of time, but he doesn't want to use much of it. Especially not when Juergensmeyer is right there, and if his efforts to overtake Cazzola take too long, then that 19 car will be right there to take over. Excuse me. I'm good to be putting time to scratching my head at the same time. Gabe is just slightly better than Dylan in the corners that matter the most, and that is making any endeavor to overtake just that much harder. That's my read on the situation. Andrew Davis has left the session. I don't know what is going on. Apparently Jackson Tate is retired with wheel problems, to my understanding, in the Discord channel. Fidel Fabian is pitting. Probably took some kind of damage and now is making his early mandatory pit stop to try and play some strategy to put himself back, at least in the realm of civilization here. Oh, Dylan Bam is around! That looked so unnatural. He manages to keep it away from the barriers. AJ Knickel is already up into 4th place. And Dylan is having to make a 5-point turn in order to rejoin without causing too many problems. Yeah, AJ Knickel is up into 4th place. He probably hasn't had to make too many overtakes, as difficult as that can be at Brands Hatch. A lot of cars are just sending themselves careening off the racetrack right now, so you don't have to pass anybody if they aren't on the racetrack. Looking at the current standings here, Jake Scarborough is the points leader. However, that is looking very much jeopardized at the moment, as he is, well, Fidel Fabian is around in turn 4. He's going to get a little lost there. But Jake Scarborough is currently being lapped by many of the leaders. Almost all of the cars, in fact. He's only ahead of about 3 right now. Fabian himself is probably imminent. And yeah, no, he's already been lapped by Matthew Stotts, and he'll be encountering Gabe and Jonathan in a moment. I know he hates me calling him that. Oh, that's not good, though. Matthew Stotts has spun out. I don't even know how you spin out there. And does he have major damage? It looks like I can't navigate menus. He is missing a front tire. And that puts us under a caution. So, more implications. I was going to continue on to say, Gabe is second in points. And with the way that Jake's race is going right now, he could very easily become first in points. Unless Jake performs a recovery drive. He won't even get the free pass either, because Fidel is also a lap down. Who was that? Oh, that's that. Okay, Jake is getting the lap back. Never mind. What do I know? Still basically 6 cars with a realistic chance of winning the championship. As, including this race, we have 5 rounds to go. Scarborough, Cazzola, Knickel, Juergensmeyer, Bam, and Stotts all have a chance of winning this title. And this has probably been one of the closer championship battles I've actually had an ability to commentate, other than probably ARX earlier this year. I don't get to commentate very many close ones, to be fair. So, there have been, I think, 3 different points leaders in this series thus far, and we could be looking at a 4th one if Gabe Gazzola can continue what he is currently doing. I should probably get out of chase cam. I was only in it to look at the damage on it. The stats on Damage's car. Yep. Remember about the stats on Riker's brain, or the damage on Riker's brain. And for another thing, I've been given notes this time, which has been very helpful. Travis was in contention, but he fell off after missing both Texas races, and now he's fallen off because he's foregoing this race to play Madden 24. So he's dug his own grave there as far as losing this championship goes. I believe he was the original points leader, but that has obviously been, eliminated. Everybody, I think, is going to dive into the pits here and take a mandatory pit stop. As the only person who, didn't already, or has already made a mandatory pit stop, Vidal Fabian is also in the pits. So yeah, every single car is in the pit lane. We'll have to see who gets blessed with the fastest pit stop here. And that is going to be Dylan Bam. Maybe he didn't even take tire, or didn't even take fuel. Probably not. Followed by AJ, and then Jake Scarborough is going to end up in 3rd after possibly no. He has an EOL, never mind. I'm dumb. And so, as if nothing changed, Dylan Bam returns to the race lead. Nothing really changed, I say, like he was ever there in the actual race proper. He was only there because he had bull. And Matthew Stotts is DNF from the race following that, so now his biggest competitor, possibly his only competitor, is out of the running. And that'll probably realistically end Matthew Stotts' attempt at taking this championship. He was already on the back foot, 6th in points, 45 back from Scarborough. Not scoring anything here is going to put him right out of contention, I would say. Dylan is 44 back, but he's currently leading, so Jurg 42 back, and then Gabe and AJ are tied 33 off of the points leader. A points leader who might be in last on track, but, I mean, he's back on the lead lap. And although overtaking can be difficult here, it's A, not impossible, and B, we've seen a fair amount of attrition already in this race. According to Travis Van Oostendorp, Congo Line Esports is signing Jamie Wright as a reserve driver approximately 25 minutes ago. So yeah, that confirms that. He is officially on CLE in that 10 car. We are about to go green here once Dylan gets on the throttle pedal anytime he feels like it, which is approximately right awkward. Right now, we are once again green. The field has almost been trimmed down to half of what it was when we started, but 9 cars can still be a race. We've seen it in the past. Scarborough's already gained 2 places, and looking at context clues, I believe there may have been some contact between Luis Ramirez and Fidel Fabian further on in the back. That's probably what has allowed Scarborough to gain those places. And Fidel Fabian is around in the back of the shot there. This setup is clearly not kind to him whatsoever. Taking that corner so fast, the trackside camera can barely even keep up. And just like that, he has already made a bit of a gap. Jamie Wright down the inside. This is not a passing zone at all. And Matthew Daly finds himself in the sand, just trying to give Jamie Wright any amount of space. That corner is just about the worst place to try and overtake on this whole circuit. I'm going to be dead honest with you. That is one line, and dire consequences if you fail to follow that line. Gabe is sideways, he cannot save it, going through turn 1. So there goes, that's going to definitely inconvenience his points battle. And AJ Knickel is suddenly looking quite fine as far as that points battle does go, because he is kind of, well, he's the closest to the points lead, and he's running 2nd place. Scarborough is up to 6th, though, so he is definitely making the rounds as far as recovery goes, but he's not really where he needs to be to maintain the points lead just yet. It's worth noting that for 3 of the 6 drivers who went into this race with a chance at winning the title, those being Jake, Gabe, and Juergensmeyer, it would be their first ARC championship. While Dylan and AJ and Stotts are looking for, well, multiple. I mean, Dylan already has several, and, well, AJ is AJ. He's got like 20. Juergensmeyer is basically racing to stay, or to put himself in the battle, and he'll want to get around AJ Knickel. Obviously. I mean, it's a race. You want to pass the car in front of you at all times. I mean, that's just a given. Jamie Wright showing some surprise pace at the moment. He's kind of hanging with these podium runners here. Slowly gaining, if nothing else. Looking at the lap time comparisons, a 1:11.9. It's almost probably about on pace with what he might have done in qualifying. Scarborough he's filling the mirrors of Matthew Daly a little bit, but it's not immediate pressure at the moment. That's certainly something to keep an eye on, though, since, you know, points leader and all that. That's not relevant right now because of where they are in relation to each other on the racetrack, which is to say, nowhere near each other. But do keep an eye. Oh, there's a JSR car, because there's been a bit of a rivalry forming between that team and 44R basically all season, but it's only getting worse. If Scarborough specifically gets near Knickel, I'll probably divulge more of the details on that. But at the moment, that doesn't seem terribly likely that will take place, since they're about 6 seconds apart and running. Well, AJ's getting away, as Jake Scarborough is hung up on the back of the 21 car at the moment. And I want to say this race is spreading out, because there are definitely cars near each other on the racetrack, but everybody is kind of, like, we only got 2 potential battles, and Juergensmeyer's not making much of an inroad on Knickel, and Scarborough's not really making many inroads on Matthew Daly at the moment either. I think Scarborough's probably closer to his opponent than his teammate Juerg is to AJ, but This is currently just kind of the waiting game. The race is in the it's in the cooking phase right now, as we see in the background. Gabe is now creeping up on this battle of sorts, a battle of sorts for 5th place. Dirty air is always a talking point at a track like this. The track's one lane, and it's very close quarters. It's very easy to be a little too close to somebody and just get all the air dumped on your face. And suddenly your car is not turning in. It's kind of one of those things of waiting for the other shoe to drop. This race ought to get exciting later, but at the moment we're at right now, everyone's just kind of running laps. Jurgensmeyer is still close to AJ Knickel, but Jake Scarborough... What the heck?! Well, that might close things back up. I believe AJ Knickel had to save a car there, and Jurgensmeyer had nowhere to go, not on a track like this. That car is destroyed, and we'll see... That is indeed summoned a yellow flag. So, just as I was saying, oh, the race is getting spread out, nobody's really near each other, everything goes down. And even though it's all a racing incident, I'm sure that's only probably making things between 44 and JSR even more tense. Probably need a knife on that. Pits were not open as DIVEBOMB was in the final corner when the caution was called. So we'll have to take a moment to run a lap around before we can get to the next set of pit stops. And looking at the shape of some of these cars, some of them, like AJ and Jurgensmeyer, are probably going to need them. I mean, that's an understatement, I would say. I'm curious to see... My voice is starting to hurt a little. Curious to see if we'll see any... That's redundant. If there will be any drivers looking to maybe grab some cheeky track position and not pit here, because, well, I'm thinking everybody is fueled up to the end. I don't know how bad this track is on tires. I guess it'll first depend on what Dylan does, and he stays out. So he's maintaining track position. He will be the only one to stay out by the looks of it. Nobody else is going for a big play except for Dylan, and he already had the lead, so that might make a difference at the very end of the race. Assuming these pitting drivers make tire changes, they'll have a slightly better pace. However, Dylan might have the pace even on worn tires to counteract that. As it appears, Jake Scarborough will be second place now. Big deal for the championship leader. Jurg and AJ getting together, despite it being Jake's teammate, has been the best thing for Scarborough, as that has taken two of his strongest competitors and put them right back at the back of the field in 8th and 9th. Jamie Wright's breakout pace in the middle part of that run there has now been effectively lost due to a slow pit stop for him, putting him back in 7th. And I mean, he has some pace. He doesn't exactly have world-ending pace, so he will probably struggle to make his way back through the field, especially since it's been pretty spread out thus far. If I'm a Scarborough, I'm not even sure if I'm super worried about passing Dylan. I think in Jake's shoes, I'm just probably more thinking about holding on to 2nd and getting ready for the next one. Taking decent points from a race that was almost just about over before it started for him, and, you know, maybe trying to compete with Dylan at the next round. Obviously, if he's got the pace advantage somehow, if maybe those fresh tires are really some Nirvana-esque pace difference and Jake Scarborough just runs Dylan down off this restart, obviously you want to go for the pass. But don't push the car too much, because then you might just jeopardize getting the 2nd place points instead. As this caution has just taken us past the halfway mark of this race. I think we'll be getting off the pit limber here. Indeed we are, so we're now just a mere moments away from getting back to green flag running here. You get to have many on-track, like, swapping of positions outside of restarts, and it really doesn't really surprise me too much. But, you know, now we're getting near the end of the race, people will probably be pushing that little extra bit to try and make up places here on this restart, so this could be heaven or this could be hell. We'll just have to find out. As Dylan Bam takes the leaders out of the final turn. He forced a little earlier this time. We are green once more from Brands Hatch. The front two got away cleanly, but it is gridlock heading into turn 1 for just about everyone else. Everyone just trying to find somewhere to be on the racetrack. Luis Ramirez has found the wrong place to be on the racetrack, and that track reset, I don't really know if that one's allowed. But this bodes well for the two front runners. Gabe Cazzola, who was, you know, leading at one point, he is kind of stuck in the mid-pack with the other one. I mean, everyone, it seems like it. If you're not Jake or Dylan, you're stuck in the mid-pack right now. Matthew Daly is actually getting away. The tables have turned. He used to be the one leading Jake Scarborough. Now he's the one trying to catch up to him. Just about survived the high-speed corners, but these are... Never mind, Fidel Fabian's around again. That car is destroyed. He has absolutely had a race to forget, despite some decent pace in qualifying. This car has not behaved in race conditions, and Jake Scarborough's off in the sand. JSR is just having a nightmare today. They clearly got something dead wrong on that setup, as it seems Jurgensmeyer is the only one on the team capable of keeping the car out of the gravel. There are no teammates technically in a championship battle, so I don't think we'll see Jurg doing much of... Well, we'll actually see a caution, so never mind all of that. That'll gather everyone back up for a third time. Fidel elects to pit immediately, as does Ramirez, taking an EOL, because I'm sure with the damage they would have, they would be at the back anyway, if they did wait. So I guess once again, the question is posed, will we see anybody make the call to not pit here? The closer we get to the end of the race, the more important track position will become, especially here. So I think this time we're going to see at least one other driver besides Dylan decide not to make that turn down to pit lane. And we might not see anybody. Oh, never mind, we're going to see Gabe Cazola pit. And it looks like might just be... No, it's not just him. Scarborough also pits in this instance. This race has been very all over the place as far as looking at the leaderboards go. The number of spins that most of the drivers have had, we've seen everybody pretty much occupy any space on the running order at any given time. Jake's been from like the back to second place and then back to the rear again like 3 different times at this point. Talking a little less into the safety car because my sore throat is beginning. Too much talking, too much air intake. Fans pointing directly at me are not helping either. And we head up here, of course, you know, aggression is relative scaling, pretty much, so we could very easily have cautions all the way from here to the end, but the second the field spreads out, we're probably green to the checkered flag. And we'll see now if somebody can maybe get a jump on Dylan. Holding a bit longer this time, but we are green once more from Brands Hatch for like the 4th time. I shouldn't even be surprised at this point. Nobody really got a jump, but it's pretty evenly spread out, really, near the front. I do have Gabe going down the inside of AJ Knickel and Scarborough going very wide at the hairpin. Looks like Gabe has made that pass stick with relative ease, all things considered. Must have had a really good run out of turn 1 to make that land. Now, Matthew Daly might just have something for him, though, at the lead. Or at the front, at the lead. That's English. AJ's swerving, trying to find a lane against Gabe, but there's nothing open. And AJ is off the circuit a little bit. And now I'll begin to wonder if those tensions might, Jamie, what is going on? Jamie's rejoined the circuit, and everybody's scrambling like a bunch of ants trying to take evasive action. Matthew Daly is somewhere as well. I think they may have collided, and I wasn't paying attention. And that is just throwing everything into chaos. I don't really know where anyone is at this point. And now I'm beginning to wonder if that rivalry might come into play here, as Scarborough's about to fight AJ for 5th place in the moment. I would suspect. Jamie is around again. When it rains, it pours. I'll tell you that much. You'd think we were on rain tires. Actually, we barely missed rain. It was raining in this location not too long ago, but the rain passed minutes before the race started. And then it was just pretty quickly turned to white cloud, and it's going to clear all the way up by the end of the race. But as the 19 and the 6 cars get near each other. You have to bring into consideration that rivalry these two have had. They've collided many times this season on track alone. But they've had plenty of spats off the track too, including comments made in interviews regarding the ARC NASCAR series. Clearly, JSR has painted a bit of a target on 44 Hours back. And as such, I don't really think there's going to be a whole lot of love lost between them if push comes to literal shove, or if, you know, maybe front wing comes to rear wing. I don't want to say I'm expecting it, but if it happens and these two make contact in the next 8 laps, I wouldn't be terribly surprised. We've seen it at Willow Springs. I think we saw it at Indy. As Gabe Cazola is around, I believe that is. It's only red car on the track, so it has to be. In a not great whip around, he puts himself in the barrier and probably damages front wing a bit. Scarborough just does not have the pace I expected to see today. Being our points leader, he's had very mid-pack speed. He's been near the front a couple times on like strategies and miscellaneous stuff, but I don't think he's made an on-track overtake, much less I don't think... What the heck? Did he get loose there? That looks so weird, I'm not gonna lie. And now there's nobody near each other. Jake and AJ are the only 2 cars within 2 seconds of one another at the moment. The next closest battle is Jurgensmeyer and Matthew Daly 3 seconds behind him. Everybody else is just kind of evenly spaced out. It's like that really annoying like traffic separation you get on highways that prevents you from turning onto the road. There is exactly one corner where Jake is faster than AJ, and that is the penultimate turn. It's not much, but it might be something, just about. Jake has slowly started to reel AJ back in after that unusual, I don't know if it was a slowdown penalty he was trying to get to go away, or if he had to catch the car and tap the brakes to do so. It was something, alright, but it lost him about a second's worth of time. And he's started to make most of it back up. As we head on to 6 laps remaining here from Brands Hatch. Dylan, it's his race to lose unless we get a last-second yellow flag. He's got a 5-second lead in hand. No, I can't read. 7-second lead in hand over Jonathan Jurgensmeyer. And the only battle on the racetrack is there's one potentially for 4th place. And we're just kind of keeping our eyes there to see if that develops. Oh, Jake was burning push-to-pass charges to get up there. That's how he was catching. And now that the push-to-pass is turned off, he's no longer gaining on AJ. So AJ has more speed. And now I think Scarborough might be just straight up out of push-to-pass. Yeah, that's a 0, I think. And AJ still has 3, so it's going to take another mistake from Knickel to even get Scarborough close at this point. It's like a game of like tug of war. Jake gains a second and loses a second. Oh, that's not a 0, that's a 7. Now, okay, so he's got plenty of charges left. I just can't read because I'm 14 feet away from my television screen. So, there's still something. 4 laps to go here from Brands Hatch. But this is the only place worth looking. Never mind, it's not anything anymore. Scarborough has looped it in the first turn. And now he's going to be battling his teammate, and that's a lapped car there of Luis Ramirez. For basically table scraps. But Fabian's not even in the points battle, so no real second thoughts to be had for passing him if he can. You should be able to, I would think. I'm surprised Fidel hasn't spun recently, considering how interesting his car's handling has been all day, really. Dylan's on his own little island as we take 3 laps to go. He's coming up to lap his former driver, Jamie Wright. That's got to be sort of a vindication thing there. You fire a guy, and then the very next race you see him, you lap him. Just kind of proves, I guess I was right. Oh, Ramirez is around. That's why Scarborough's off the throttle there. I guess that clears that obstacle for the 19. Now he can try and pass his teammate. I wonder how willing Jamie Wright's going to be to get out of the way. I mean, that's the rule, obviously, but some people take longer than others. Some people will slam the brakes and move over at the earliest convenience, but other people, they'll wait until the whole sector, or wait to see if the other car is actually catching them before they move. Fidel tentatively has a penalty, but those usually get removed because Fidel probably has done a drive-through at some point during the race, or done whatever it is that would have cleared that penalty. So you can't really rely on that. 2 laps to go, as Dylan has recently started the second to last lap. But we're gonna watch the 2 teammates. Never mind. No hashtag save the commentator today, as Fidel just quickly gets out of his teammate's way. Obviously more to play for Scarborough. Disappointing, but understandable. Have a great day. And now I guess we just kind of ride on board with the leader. Ride out the last lap and a half here from Brands Hatch and take us to the checkers. Yeah, we're on the final lap. I was distracted by my tablet. I know there was much to look at. Dylan never actually got up to Jamie, right? So I guess that vindication wasn't completely there. You might still get to him, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of everything. All it really does is make the race shorter because we won't have to wait for him to complete the final lap before we get to the final results screens. But Dylan Bam is certainly going to make up quite a bit of ground here. He's gone from 44 back in the championship standings, but with poor races from everybody else in front of him, except for Juergensmeyer, he's going to make up some time as he wins from Brands Hatch And as soon as Matthew Stotts was out of the race, it hardly looked much in doubt. Juergensmeyer will claim second place, a very important second place. How did this teammates maker, Matthew Daly, probably let him by? So AJ Knickel is going to get the podium. Matthew Daly basically finished on the podium, but let his teammate go by, as AJ has something to play for in the championship standings, much the same as Fidel Fabian did for Scarborough, who comes home in a 5th place. Not really the best result for the points leader, but considering how the race started for him, it probably could have been a little bit worse. Gabe disconnected. I didn't actually see where he finished. If he finished. And now we just wait for Jamie Wright to complete his final lap, and that will wrap things up for the racing action, if you could even call that action, here at Brands Hatch. Now we'll bring our have our podium finishers in. Interesting, since one of those drivers that's on the podium was put there by team orders. So, who was technically the... I mean, that'll probably be the question. Make sure that it is team orders, and maybe Matthew Daly just spun when I wasn't looking. I was just kind of an autopilot as we got to the finish line, but either way. And the podium finishers all join in quick succession. God, I've been invited to this race like 7 times. Go away, other person. So, with our podium finishers, we look first at AJ Knickel, who grabs 3rd place. Just to kind of confirm, I assume that was team orders with Matthew Daly that granted 3rd place here.
Yeah, I couldn't ask for a better teammate than Matthew. He does everything he possibly can to make the team run smoothly and give us the exact same, or the exact best chance that we can have to come away with a title at the end of the year. And I think, given all the bad luck that we've had as a team, I think it finally starts to turn around with this.
Yeah, and there's a bit of endurance in every motorsport, not just AEC, so, you know. But I think the honorable mention goes to Matthew for probably having the 3rd place on pace.
Oh, he absolutely did. He had that completely covered. He had me completely covered, but I was kind of asking him around, I think, lap 20 or so. I was just asking him if he couldn't catch Jurg, if he'd want to slide in between Jake and I, and then Jake spun and went in back behind Fabian, and Fabian let Jake through. So at that point, it was kind of game on. So it all worked out in the end. We ended up with a bigger gap between Jake and myself, and obviously Gabe back in 9th, and Stotts had a bit of a stinker. So at the end of the day, I think the Team 44 Champion Alliance kind of had the best possible outcome that we could, and I'm very much looking forward to Snutterton and some tracks where it's a little smoother, a little more about who can wring the most out of the car rather than who hits a curb the wrong way on lap 16 and backs into a fence.
Or for whoever dares to run the lowest downforce, which has been a reoccurring thing at a lot of the North American circuits. I think of like Indy and Daytona Road Course for that.
Yeah, Snutterton looks like a bit of a medium-low downforce track. I'd assume it's probably going to be a little lower than medium, but not quite all the way down. I don't really foresee a situation where it's all the way down just because there's a couple really high downforce sections. But I think it'll be really easy to pass, and I think generally it'll be a really good race. It's got a nice long kind of airstrip as a backstretch and do a bit of a sweeper. The only worries those curbs, and I hope nobody gets any bright ideas to slide backwards over a curb or go forward over a curb and to like intentionally bring out a yellow or something if their buddy's in the back, because we're getting down to crunch time, and obviously that's when the funny business starts happening. We see it in real life, and we see it see it in league racing, and I hope everybody can kind of keep their head down and put some races together, and we'll see who the best person is at the end of the season.
My arm started itching. Unironically, it was actually itching. But yeah, that's AJ's.
That's a good one.
AJ's point of view on this as he looks towards the last handful of races here. Still a lot to play for, especially with a lot of the main 6 competitors here having absolute nightmares. But there were 3 that had decent runs, and one of the other ones is Mr. Jurgensmeyer in second place, who had kind of a quiet race, all things considered, average qualifying pace, but just kind of kept the car on the tarmac for a important second place. Do you think that will kind of give you the leg up in the championship, considering where your teammate Scarborough's finished today?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of points gained. I mean, obviously Dylan gained a lot of points on me, but I mean, I think second was the best I could have gotten today. It was early in the race. I was behind AJ. We had a bit of an incident. I'll have to go over it, see if it was my fault. But I mean, I worked my way through the field well, and I had to take to the grass to avoid that incident. He got me a couple 3 spots from Maddie and Jamie coming together. But I mean, all in all,
did collide.
It's a lot of points gained today. And, I mean, it gives me a lot of confidence back in the championship. Texas, I didn't have a very good Texas, and I mean, having a P2 here, it's really keeps me in the fight this season.
Yeah, that should put you almost tied with Jake, and still clear, I think, of Dylan. If I think I know the IndyCar point system well enough to guess. I don't. Spoiler alert, but yeah, some momentum. It's a classic race of attrition, and that race benefits a certain kind of person that just kind of knows where to have the race car to not get caught up in other things. But none of that matters if you're like our race winner, Dylan Bam, and you put your car ahead of everything else. He had the pole, he got taken on the start though, but once Matthew Stott's race was ended by, terminal damage, did that ever even, I always ask this one, did it ever really look in doubt, or are you just kind of unpressured, it seemed like? It's hard to really ask him much of a question, I guess, because he won the race by 9 seconds.
Well, yes, there was quite a lot of doubt when, Stotts had their, blistering starts, which I can only presume is just automatic transmission supremacy.
Yeah.
I just got stuck behind Gabe. I literally couldn't pass him. I was going so slow behind him. And spun in his dirty air just because the game's dirty air just sucks. It's not good. You get hyper loose behind people in dirty air, which doesn't make sense at all. But yeah, and then I spun, and was like last of all the people on the lead lap. Yeah, and knowing how difficult it was to pass people, it was very much in doubt. But then we got a yellow, and we played the strategy, and didn't take tires at the pit stop, but got enough food to go to the end, and kind of just then stayed in the end from there on out. But yeah, the car was kind of sketchy, so I was fighting it the whole time. We have some work to do. It felt great on the alternates, but the primary is just, we have some work to do on that tire. It's just different. That's really making a fuss. So, yeah.
Either way, it's obviously winning is a good confidence booster, and you're going to have to make up a bit of ground. But this has made up most of it already, considering the races that Scarborough and Cazzola have had, and Stotts has pretty much been eliminated from contention following this nightmare of a race for him. Of course, I've heard through the pipeline that you and your Alliance teammates at 44R have been working on the telemetry, so If anybody can figure out how to make those primaries work, I'm pretty sure it's going to be you. But I can't think of any further questions. I mean, it's obvious, you know, I don't really like to go for the how does it feel to win the race question. That's just a cop-out that they always ask in NASCAR. But, like, what do you think? But, so, that will conclude matters here from ARC Indycar Brands Hatch. Looking towards the remainder of the week, if I can maybe get my tablet to turn on, that would be helpful. As AJ has already alluded to, the next IndyCar round is the Snetterton 200 layout. So the medium distance one, but not the full circuit used in some other series. Later on in the week, there will be... That's NASCAR. That's not where I'm going to find that. The Spa round of the Porsche Super Cup. That'll be coming up this Thursday. And then in kind, we will have the Belgian Grand Prix for both the variations of the North American and European tiers of our Formula 1 competitions. But you won't be hearing from me for those. But what you will be hearing from me for is, you know, the good old shout out to our ARC sponsors. To DIVEBOMB, the title sponsor of ARC, through their different social media pages and different article websites. They keep up with news around pretty much the whole motorsports world, but mostly European motorsports. To SimLeague Pro, the site that ARC has been using for about 2 or 3 years now to organize and track stats, as well as recruit new drivers for the different series. And if you're not interested in ARC for whatever reason, you could easily find plenty of other leagues on the forum pages there too. To the Burn and Rubber podcast, the podcast run by our possibly former points leader, Jake Scarborough. That would be a cursed combination. They interview some of the up-and-coming talents in the oval racing world and dirt racing. So mostly in North America. I guess to kind of counteract DIVEBOMB mostly being Europe. You got one for both. James McAdam, our partnership with him, allows ARC to use his video game photography and in-game screenshots for promotional materials that we post onto the different social media pages, such as Instagram. And finally to AJ Knickel Design, the design company led by AJ Knickel, the owner of the league. And a good example of their portfolio is all of the different social media posts that do go up on the ARC pages. But that'll do it for today. Until Thursday's Porsche Super Cup race, goodbye.